Okay, I do want you to know the difference between solving an equation and checking the solution. Okay, so these are meant to be different. I know sometimes, we don't even read the words. You just look at this and you think you're doing the same thing here. But I do want you to know the difference between solving it or checking. If you already have the solution given to you, what you can do with it. Solving, obviously, I think we're getting pretty good at it by now, where to solve this one, again, you're keeping the two sides separate. And hopefully most of you subtracted 23 from both sides and ended up with just minus 3x here. Really common mistake is forgetting that minus. It's got to stay there, right? When you go through and solve that. But this obviously cancels out. Whether you want to actually write that big cross out or not is up to you. On the other side, what do you have? 11 minus 23 there. You have negative 12, right? So you got your new equation here is negative 3x equals negative 12. If you divide both sides by negative 3, you get x equals 4. Okay? So that's solving that thing. This is your solution. That's what solving is, right? Starting with the equation and systematically going and finding the solution. Now, I asked some of you while you were working on this, what does it mean to find the solution? Okay, what does it mean to find the solution? Finding the solution means coming up with the value of x. Solving an equation means finding the unknown variable, right? The unknown, that's the unknown, you're finding it. On the right side here, if I'm asking you to check if this is the solution, you could just go through and solve it the same way you did over here and see if the solution you get at the bottom is the same. But I want you to know another method. And the other method is, if I'm asking you if this is the solution, then what should happen here? Like, shouldn't that be the value of this? What should happen if I substitute that value? Do you know what it means to substitute a value for a variable? Instead of this x, I'm going to replace it with negative 2. Right? If I replace it with negative 2 and then just keep everything else the same, I'm going to put brackets around that because what does that mean, the 4 and the x right next to each other? It means multiplying. It's good if you substitute it with brackets like that. I'm still going to keep this line here, only now I'm not going to go through and solve it. I'm just going to look at this expression on this side and work it out and see if it's the same. Is there a variable in there anymore? No, there's not, right? Because I replaced it with this value and I'm going to check if it works. I'm just going to work this out and say this thing is equal to negative 8 and keep the rest the same. And then if I have negative 8 minus 9, that is negative 17, right? Now, is that equal to negative 1 here? As we work through this, obviously that's not equal, right? This is not equal. At the beginning here, if we're checking if this is the solution, we're kind of trying to say, is this equal? Kind of question mark all the way down. And in the end, we come up with it's not equal to. I don't know if you've ever seen this symbol before. I assume you have an equal with a line through it, not equal to. Those are not equal. What's the conclusion I can make now? What's the conclusion I can make? Well, what is the conclusion? What can I say about my original question here? Is it the solution? Negative 2 is not the solution, right? Not the solution. So make sure you know the difference between solving the equation or checking a solution. You can check, you should be able to get 100% on everything you do in this unit because you don't need an answer key for it, because you can check your solution. If you get it, if you were doing this one over here, how could you check to see if you got it right in a different way? How could you use a different way? What could you do?
Wait, which one?
Well, any of them, right? This one, once you solved it.
That one you can just put 4 in your x.
Absolutely, right? If you really want to, either you can kind of do it in your head or actually write it down. You can write down your original equation, but instead of the x, right? So I got, instead of the x here, I can substitute that with, what am I going to replace it with? Replace it with 4, right? Substituting it. Like in your textbook, they always, when they substitute a number, they put it in red just to emphasize that they're substituting it, and they put everything else the same here. and then you could work out. And this is kind of like a question mark here now. Is it equal? Is it equal? We can go down and check. We have 23 minus 3 times 4, 23 minus 12 is 11. 11 equals 11. Is that true? It is, right? So it is equal, so that means that is the solution. All right? So make sure you know the difference there between solving it and checking it.